G'day friends and foes, Arjay here with Arjay's This Is Not Legal Advice, or TINLA, episode 110. So what this video is about is prima facie electoral fraud within Queensland. I do have my computer here that I was going to show some information, but unfortunately the battery's dying and I'll just have to get straight onto it. So many of you appreciate that I did a video, TINLA 82, which was about Riccardo Bosi, prima facie, or on the face of it, or apparent, i.e. it seems that there was electoral fraud committed by him in terms of him being a New South Wales resident, apparently, and running in elections in Queensland, voting in Queensland, that kind of thing. So Riccardo did do a follow-up video with Joe Jamal, filmed in Sydney obviously, and it's called Did You Break the Law by Running in Queensland? You Live in New South Wales, and then a little funny smiley face. So I'll try and show that quickly. It doesn't help with this light on there, and I have to have the screen right down too. But anyway, within that, sorry, just flip this around. Within that video, there is what I would describe as an unreasonable denial about the illegality. So I'm just looking at the transcript. Unfortunately, his computer's going to die, so it's not very helpful. But anyway, so in the video, I haven't watched it for a week, but it went something like this. Hey Riccardo, did you break the law? There's been a video going around, i.e. my video, TINLA 82, claiming that you may have broken a law by running in the Queensland election when you live in Sydney. What do you have to say about that? And basically, Riccardo, unfortunately, I don't have the transcript available right now because the computer just died and I've got nowhere to plug it in. I'm just in an industrial area at the moment. But basically, Riccardo says, I live in Sydney, we voted remotely, so presumably he and his wife. And the reason why we're not in Queensland is because of COVID, and you know, my wife's sick. Unfortunately, I have to take her to the bathroom sometimes. She locks up with her MS. She's on some MS drug, blah, 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 which of course is very unfortunate, but it doesn't change the fact. And then he says that he didn't break any laws in running for the Queensland election, being a resident of Sydney, or words to that effect. That is actually false, and in that video he was obviously trying to allay fears or whatever that there was electoral fraud in Queensland conducted by himself, and you know that he doesn't get punished for that. And in doing that video, and again he claims that there was nothing illegal about him running in the election when he is a New South Wales resident. They also had a part in there that was about, Joel says, were you registered to a Queensland address? And then the answer was yes. Was it a residential address? Don't tell me where it is, but was there a residential address? And then Riccardo says yes. He doesn't say it's where I live or anything like that. They just said that he put down a basically false address in Queensland. So in TINLA 82, I went through the law extensively, so it makes an hour and a half long video or however long it is, and with the two parts stuck together. And I didn't cover every single law because there's, in addition to the Queensland laws, there's breaking of federal legislation, electoral laws, as well as the Criminal Code Act 1995. Again, prima facie, I'm not a court, but I'm saying what I believe and what the evidence shows. And of course, if it went to court, it wouldn't be a jury trial likely, so it'd be a single judge, so nothing I'm saying could prejudice that, unreasonably so. And anyway, so I don't know if I touched on electoral advertising. So within probably every state and territory's Electoral Act or equivalent, they have a part that for all electoral advertising, and they do define it so it doesn't include things like pins, like, a little badge saying vote number 1 for me, or t-shirts or stuff like that, or pens, USB sticks, blah blah blah. But for electoral advertising, it must state the name of an authoriser, someone who has authorised it. It has to be a natural person, and the address that that person can be found at. That person's, the address doesn't have to be where they live, but it has to be where they are reasonably to be found. Like on a weekday, it might be their workplace, something like that. So that's why you see on electoral ads on TV or on the radio, or printed ones where, they speed the voice up and say, authorised by G. Roberts, 172 bloody blah Street, Brisbane, or whatever, as an example. So I tracked down Riccardo's an address registered, and it's done as Riccardo Bosi. It's not, Joe Smith authorising the ads, but there is an address registered with the Queensland Electoral Commission. So this is Riccardo's address, and I just happen to be at the front of it right now. And to verify this, I was going to show my computer, but unfortunately the battery died. It does have some kind of weird problem that even though the lid's closed on a laptop, it just drains the battery as if, the laptop was on. So I'd probably have to work out how to change a setting in there, or maybe it's got a short circuit or something like that. So the address that is registered for Riccardo Bosi for the authorisation of electoral advertising, which is, as I said, you can look this up. Unfortunately, I can't change Windows on this phone, or it cuts the video out, which is annoying, but no, it is what it is. So if you look up section 181 of the Queensland Electoral Act, it says about authorisation, or, the authorisation for political advertisement, requirements, and that includes about putting the authoriser and an address that the authoriser is able to be found. So I'll show you, this is Riccardo's address apparently. Just switch this camera around. So this is number 12 Corton Drive, West Burleigh. There's number 12, and it is Ashanti Furniture and Design. And this is supposedly where Riccardo works or lives, or can be found otherwise, throughout the week. So there's a big 12. You can verify this as well via, Google Earth showing the business. Apparently it's only open on Sundays, according to the little notice here of trading hours, unless it's saying it's open Monday to Friday and Saturday 9 to 5, and Sunday it's got a special time, which is possible. You see Burleigh Automatics next door, Salvation Army across the road, CNW Electrical Wholesales, Burleigh Tiles, the flooring depot, that kind of thing. And anyway, so Riccardo doesn't apparently live here. Is he in a mailbox? Riccardo, are you there? So, there was basically a confirmation that there was electoral fraud, I submit. And again, I'm not a court, but and the only reason I'm saying that is because, it's stupid to prejudice court cases, and, everyone deserves a fair trial. And, basically there was a confirmation, I believe, that there was electoral fraud committed by Riccardo Bosi. Therefore, if he is investigated and convicted of that, which is a dishonesty offence, then he would be banned from running in elections within Australia for, at least most of the places probably have the same time period, but 10 years. So also, he would not be able to be a member of a registered political party if he is convicted of a dishonesty offence. So, he does do videos saying, hey, look, there's treason in Australia, no one follows the Constitution. What else? Electoral fraud, blah, blah, blah. They even have that as a little ad. But it appears that Riccardo does those crimes himself. So that is a very disturbing thing. And if it turns out that he is guilty of that. And, a lot of people like following people that talk about the Constitution, as an example. Yet it is unconstitutional for the Queensland Constitution and the Electoral Act as well to run in Queensland elections when you're not a resident of Queensland. And you had to have been a resident for at least 1 month before the close of rolls. And the close of rolls occurs, how many weeks would that be? 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that before an election. I don't remember the exact time frame off the top of my head. I think it was maybe around the 11th of October that the rolls closed, or close of nominations, one of the two. So the rolls close, and then say a day or two later the nominations close. And nominations as in, I'm going to run in the election. And then also within that video, again, as I said, Riccardo says something like, we voted remotely. So again, it is illegal to vote in Queensland elections when you are not entitled to do so. And it doesn't matter even if he has, 10 houses in Queensland. If he's not a resident of Queensland, then I submit that it is illegal for him to run in Queensland elections. Also, another interesting point is, does whoever runs his business, Ashanti Furniture, know that he put their address as his address? And I suspect they would, because I suspect that they may well be, how can I put it? So when you register an address, as an example, then, and if this is the address that was actually used on the electoral roll as well, in which case it's clearly not a residence, but, was at least used for authorisation of electoral advertising. But the Queensland Electoral Commission, even though they call it Electoral Commission Queensland here, just in case people think I don't know what I'm talking about, but they send out correspondence probably to the addresses. And then also for voting remotely, presumably that means postal vote. So then, because I postal vote, I have a legally protected address because I get credible death threats quite often. I've been getting them since about 2012, and property damage and stuff like that. But basically, they send out a letter to me and it's got a ballot paper in it, so I just scribble that, vote, and then scribble on the back of it, sign it, whatever happened. And presumably someone either voted for Riccardo, and presumably his wife, and anyone else who may be living with him. I don't know if he has, adult children or something that live with him that may have voted as well. So maybe whoever lives at his registered address in Queensland voted for him, or forwarded the mail to him to then vote, to then send it back being signed, voting secret ballot paper postal vote. And then did it that way. So again, there may well be conspiracy, and perhaps this person, whoever has Ashanti Furniture and Design, doesn't even know Riccardo. Maybe he just put a random address down. I don't know, but obviously it is worth investigating. And if the computer was open now and not flat battery, then I could look up ashantifurniture.com.au. I don't know if it's a franchise or not, but it might be the one store, and it might say, or maybe it's got the manager's name or something like that. And it is what it is. So as a summary, I did a video, TINLA 82, which pointed out some anomalies, prima facie, or on the face of it, electoral fraud in Queensland. And then Riccardo put a video out with Joel Jamal trying to address that, presumably hoping it to go away. And then also, they're very careful to say something like, "Oh, you just sprung this question on me. We don't discuss the questions beforehand," or words to that effect. Which I personally don't believe, but that's beside the point. But in doing that video, it appears that Riccardo dobbed himself in. So, electoral fraud should be investigated in Queensland, and not just against Riccardo Bosi, to either clear his name or to, convict him or whatever. And presumably, there are a lot of reasons why he may well get a mitigated sentence or punishment if he turns out that he is guilty. But, that's another story. So if he is guilty, maybe he just gets a slap on the wrist. Maybe they just refuse to investigate it because it brings into question, electoral fraud elsewhere for the rest of the election, for one, and for two, because if all of a sudden Queensland, Australia's second largest state physically, just had a fraudulent election, then that may well help Donald Trump in the USA, because they can say, hey, look, people always say there's rigged elections in Russia or, China or wherever the hell else, but we've got to look in our own backyard. We have electoral fraud in so-called Western democracies, even though technically Australia's not a democracy, never was. It's really a constitutional monarchy with democratic features, blah blah blah, but again, getting too technical. So anyway, I can't see anyone's comments for some reason. I don't know if anyone's left any comments, but my phone has been playing up, and so's my laptop as well, but it doesn't even have the bar showing where anyone has comments. So anyway, I'll leave it there, and I hope you're all well. Please like, share, subscribe. This could well be breaking news. It could well have international implications in terms of, hey, look, I think my battery's dying on my little light, that, if there's electoral fraud in Australia, then maybe there's electoral fraud in the USA, and it's not just, 5 people voting 10 times. It's systemic and also, a very bad thing and affects people. I hear little, Egyptian drums happening. Anyway, cheerio. Bye, woo. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you.